Welcome, brothers, back to D6 Tabletop. Oh, wait, hang on. 1 minute.
Oh, that's better. Far too much Space Marine 2. Welcome back to D6 Tabletop. In this video, we have dug out the models. We are going down to Bristol Independent Gaming for their twin-linked event as we play 2,000 points, 1,000 points per team player, one-day event consisting of 3 games of 40k. Let's go! So for this event, I'm bringing a new list. I am bringing the Blood Ravens. I've only played a couple of games with the Marines. Usually I'm a Xenos player, but I thought I'd try something new. I love the Marines and I love the lore from Dawn of War games, so I brought them down to have a bit of fun. My teammate Jamie has brought along his Krieg. They look awesome, and together we're representing the Imperium today on the tabletop. So let's have a little look through my list, look at Bristol Independent Gaming, and get into Game 1. So my list then, I didn't want to go too complicated as I'm still learning. I also didn't want to have to move loads of stuff around because time limits are a thing, especially with new armies. So to kick my list off then, we've got a lieutenant with combi weapon. He is there for lone op to try and screen out early. He can infiltrate. He's got a feel no pain. As it's a Pariah Nexus event, I found in my last few games of there having lots of action monkeys is really useful. So this lieutenant will be doubling up as an action monkey as well as hopefully doing some screening and preventing them from coming down too close. Next up, we've got 5 scouts. Pretty simple. Up and downy shenanigans plus screening out early game, and they can scout back if we lose first turn. I need to get them out of the way. 6 Blade Guard veterans, quite possibly my favourite models in the entire Marine range. Are they good? Not entirely sure yet. I pair them up with a chaplain so that they can get +1 to wound, in the hope that no matter what I put them into, I should be hitting at least on 4s going into most things. Next up, we've got 6 aggressors with Apothecary Biologist, complete with the Fire Discipline enhancement. Seems to be a staple of most lists at the moment. The damage output they can do is incredible, and it's about the only shooty unit I've got on my list, except for this. A Repulsor Executioner. I love this tank. I think it looks awesome. Not completely sold on the amount of guns it's got. It's got one really nice big high damage output. The rest of it, kind of meh in my opinion, but that's probably because I'm used to using Tau. And then finally we've got an Impulsor. The Blade Guard will be sitting in the Impulsor with the Chaplain and running that up the board in the hope to get them in combat as fast as possible. Meanwhile, on the Krieg side, my teammate has brought Lord Solar, so he's going to give us 2 CP at the start of our turn every turn, provided he's still alive. His bodyguard is a set of 10 Kriegsmen. He's brought a Basilisk, he's brought a Hellhound, he's brought a Executioner, Lehman Russ, a Rogel Dawn, and a Scout Sentinel. And a Tech Priest is there for good measure to keep everything repaired and keep issuing a 4-up invulnerable save to 1 vehicle per turn. Most likely to be the Rogel Dawn. That thing needs to stay alive. All in all, a lot of firepower, and the Basilisk hopefully coming in clutch to try and slow down some of those units with its after effect of taking 2 away from movement, charge, and advance rolls for the opposition unit that it shoots at. So with all of that, let's get on to Game 1. Before we do that, let's have a quick look at Bristol Independent Gaming. It's one of my favourite places in the southwest to go for games. If you've not been there before, the tables are brilliant, the shop's well stocked, and they've got all kinds of things for all your tabletop needs. From Warhammer, Star Wars, D&D, they run tabletop intro games, they run D&D nights and role-playing nights, and airbrushing lessons, all those good kind of bits. So if you're ever in the area, pop in and say hello, or pop online and have a look at all the stuff they can offer. And now, on to Game 1. Game 1 then, we are playing against Alex and Hayden, the team of Battle Brothers, a combined army of Tau and Chaos Demons.
Xenos filth.
Oh, let's do that again. Primary mission, take and hold. Mission rule, rapid escalation. And deployment, Crucible of Battle. In a deployment step, the Battle Brothers decided all but 1 Bloodthirster was going into reserve. With the mission rule rapid escalation, they can take another battle line unit and pop that in reserve as well, which meant that it was only 1 Bloodthirster and the Tau army being placed on the table. At this point, me and Jamie decided that what we would try and do is bait out the Tau into a thin line and try and focus on one side. With that in mind, when we deployed, I deployed heavily on one side of the table, Jamie deployed halfway across, and then with Lord Solar's ability to redeploy 3 units, we left one side of the table, choose to focus to run up the other side, and hopefully by avoiding Tau guns, and only focusing on a few at a time, should be able to get rid of enough units before the demon wave can come in turn 2, that hopefully we should have enough board presence to secure us the game. This was helped massively by the fact that we got first turn, allowing us to get up the board, advance where I needed to, get some lines of shots on, get the tanks to bear, and be able to whittle down some of that annoying Tau units that I like to run myself personally a lot, but I'm not playing them this time around, so that we could then control board presence. The Bloodthirsters we've got to deal with, I mean, they've got 2 on the table, well, 1 on the table currently and 1 in reserve, and broadsides are still deadly. However, when they roll, unfortunately, as poorly as they did, they do not actually hit anything, or much at all. And that what they do hit can be negated thanks to the Rogel Dawn's once per game shrug damage roll, which is what happened in the game. Allowing me to get in hand-to-hand combat with a Bloodthirster with my aggressors. Power Fists go pow. Unfortunately, I didn't get the kill because both Bloodthirsters died to being rolled over by a Rogel Dawn. After I've done all the hard work to get them down to one single wound, the Rogel Dawn comes in every time and takes the glory. But with that in mind, I think due to the fact that there was only half an army on the table for the first turn and us being able to capitalise on board control and shooting and getting rid of the units, that by the time the demons did come down in force, we'd already secured most of the table and prevented the Tau from being able to carry on being a gun line because they were gone. With the final score being 98 to the Imperium, 47 to the Xenos. Great game, a great pair of opponents. They were really fun to play against. I think in this instance, letting us have the board table due to being in reserve, even when he did rapid ingress, some bloodletters in at the back table, just wasn't enough to stop the tide of what was coming. It needed everything ready on the table at the start of the game, I feel. Or, if they'd gone first, it could have been a completely different story. And with that in mind, moving on to Game 2. Having now peaked early in the tournament, Game 2 has brought us up in the lower digit tables as we face off against Rob and Rich of the team Piffed Off. As you'll see that his Imperial Guard are all wearing piff hats. So, it works. It happens at nearly every tournament that me and Rob end up playing each other, if not in Game 2, usually Game 3, in the singles, and last time in the same doubles. This time, Rob and Rich are bringing Imperial Guard and World Eaters. We're playing Search and Destroy Deployment, Primary Mission of Purge the Foe, and a Mission Rule of Fog of War. Now in this game, obviously both of the Imperial Guard players wanted to sit back and shoot their tanks at each other. Or, the other players as well. Whereas me and Rich had to try and smash each other in the middle. With that in mind, I tried to put up as much of a melee defense as I possibly could against an entire army of different versions of 8-bound. Newsflash, 8-bound pretty much kill everything put in their way, especially if they're aggressors and blade guard. So, I managed to hold on for about 3 turns before I got tabled, trying to hold back all of the 8-bound from getting towards the Krieg tanks and the Krieg lines. Unfortunately, once I was off the table, the way was open for everyone else to rush into the Krieg. However, with that being said, we did get some decent draws on the secondaries and managed to still keep a respectable score on the scoreboard, with the winning score being 97 to Piffed Off and 69 to our Imperium Alliance. As always, these two are great fun to play against. Me and Rob have got a rematch to have when we finally get ready to a singles tournament. I think we're currently 1 for 1, maybe 2 for 2 in our current in our private vendetta. So as always, a brilliant game, and I have no doubt that the next tournament we'll end up playing them again. So with that in mind, on to Game 3. Game 3 then, we're playing against Harley with his Tau and Mark with his Custodes. Deployment is Dawn of War. Primary mission, Scorched Earth. And mission rule, Raise Banners. Since the mission rule of Raise Banners can only be done by battle line units, we've got the Krieg to rely on here, and that's it. Harley's running a retaliation cadre towel list, so lots of battle suits, crisis teams of all different flavours, stealth teams, and Mark, his custodians, he's got a Terminator block. The really big tank does lots of damage really easily. Couple of squads of sisters, and another chunky of warrior unit in the middle. Now, most of this is off the table, so in Deep Strike we've got a lot of crisis suits. The ones with Farsight in are off the table, ones with an Enforcer Commander off the table. Mark's taking his Terminators off the table. So in deployment, we had a lot more to put down than they did. With that in mind, we still decided to use the 3-unit move that Solar can do. Spread out first of all to see where they put their units down, and then castle up into the square corner and see if we can work better by sticking together. As you can see from the table, it's got quite tight on lines of shooting as well. So by doing this, we managed to get the Custody tank out of position to not be able to shoot us for the first 2 turns, which did help quite a lot. Basilisk's main job for this game was to keep shooting at the Custodes unit in the middle of the table. Making them -2 to move, charge, and advance was a big thing for us, because we didn't want them anywhere near any of our vehicles, or anything actually in general, because they will decimate whatever they touch. Neither side really knew who had the upper hand until the final whistle went. Unfortunately for us, we had a bad draw in turn 2 and 3, meaning that we didn't actually get to score any secondaries, whilst both sides only managed to raise 1 banner on their home objective. Problem was, as good as the terrain was, as soon as either of us stepped out of it, we got shot by the other side. So it was more a case of counterplays to help us get through the game. In the end, the final score ended with 84 to our Imperium Alliance and 88 to the Custodes and the Tau, pipping them the win by 4 points. So there we have it. After 3 games of 40k, we've scored 251 points overall out of a possible 300, so happy with that. We've come 17th, and we've had a great day, as normal, down at Bristol Independent Gaming. As for the Marines, I do enjoy them. I love the lore of the Blood Ravens, and I think there should be some more for me to find to try and get out of these units, or change the list slightly to make it a bit more utility, I think, on the table. Maybe drop the big tank for some smaller stuff. Or maybe a Redemptor. Dreadnoughts are always fun. So a big thank you to Marcus for putting on the event, and for the team at Bristol Independent Gaming for having us down there for the day. And with that all being said, it's time to get back to some Space Marine 2.
Into the fires of battle, unto the anvil of war.